Japanese naked bikes have always been the cheat code, offering raw power, bulletproof reliability, and just enough chaos to keep your blood pumping. And now, things have gone full throttle. This isn't about spec sheets or brand loyalty. This is about bikes that feel right, the kind that make you take the long way home, that buzz in your chest long after the ride's over. Here are 10 best Japanese naked bikes under 20,000. Starting from number 10, Suzuki GSX-8S. This bike isn't here to shout, flex, or dazzle you with spec sheet swagger. No, this one's the underdog that rolls up in silence, then drops the gloves when the light turns green. At $9,000, it technically sits just under our 10K mark, but honestly, it punches like a $12,000 bike. So I'm bending the rules a little, because this one earns its spot. Let's start with the heart, a 776 cubic centimeter, liquid-cooled, parallel twin engine, pumping out 82 horsepower and 57.5 pound-feet of torque. But what makes this engine so good isn't just the numbers, it's the character. It rumbles like a V-twin, pulls like a champ from down low, and has just enough growl to remind you that Suzuki wasn't messing around this time. I'll be real, Suzuki needed this bike. They've spent years living in the shadows of Yamaha's MT line, but the 8S feels like a proper counterpunch. It's balanced, predictable, and surprisingly fun to toss into corners, thanks to that sweet combo of a low center of gravity and tight chassis geometry. The electronics package? Solid. You get ride modes, a bi-directional quick shifter, traction control, and a crisp TFT dash, all standard. And the style? It's got that robotic Street Fighter look. Aggressive, modern, a little edgy. A lot of middleweights try to be everything at once and end up feeling like nothing in particular. But the GSX-8S doesn't fall into that trap. It's focused, simple, sharp. The kind of bike that quietly earns your respect until one day you look around and realize you're not riding anything else. Taking the 9th spot is the Honda CB650R. If bikes were people, the Honda CB650R would be that well-dressed guy in a three-piece suit who secretly shreds at guitar after work. It's polite, composed, and carries itself with class, right up until you twist the throttle. Then it sings. And for $9,500, that's one heck of a tune. Here's the kicker. This is one of the last middleweight inline fours you can actually buy new. While everyone else has jumped on the twin and triple bandwagon, Honda kept the 649cc inline four alive. Why? Because it revs to the moon. You've got 94 horsepower that builds and builds, then lets loose past 8,000 RPM with that intoxicating four-cylinder scream that just doesn't exist on twins. Design-wise, Honda calls it a Neo Sports Cafe, which sounds pretentious until you actually see it. Then it makes sense. It's got modern LED lighting, subtle retro touches, and a perfectly balanced stance. Everything about the bike feels intentional. The CB650R won't drag you into chaos, but it will seduce you with finesse. At number 8, we have the Yamaha XSR 900. There's always that one bike that looks like it belongs in a cafe racer photo shoot, but then you twist the throttle and realize it's out here picking fights with modern machines. That's the Yamaha XSR 900, and for $10,600, you're getting a triple-cylinder time machine with a secret. Let's start with the obvious. It's stunning. Yamaha nailed the neo-retro vibe. You could park it next to a 70s RD and nobody would bat an eye until you fire it up. That 890cc triple? It's the same CP3 engine from the MT-09. It kicks out 117 horsepower, but what makes it really sing is that torque curve. There's usable power all over the rev range. It's like that one friend who's always ready to go. Never too early, never too late. And the electronics? Full suite. Ride modes, traction control, quick shifter, and a slipper clutch. All standard. It's tech hidden inside vintage clothing. And I respect that. What I love most, though, is how it makes you feel like you're doing something rebellious. Riding this thing feels like breaking the rules and getting away with it. You're not supposed to be this fast on something that looks this classic. And that's exactly the point. At number 7 is the Honda CB1000R Black Edition. You know that friend who walks into a room quietly but somehow ends up being the most dangerous guy there? That's the Honda CB1000R Black Edition. It's dressed like it's going to a board meeting, but fights like it belongs in a street brawl. Crazy enough, it's pretty affordable at $13,000. There's something deeply satisfying about this bike. The 998cc inline-4 makes 143 horsepower, and it does it with this smooth, almost arrogant confidence. It doesn't shout, it doesn't try to impress you with gimmicks. It just gets to work. And visually, it's a mood. That deep black paint, the machined finishes, the minimalist headlight. It's like someone took a samurai sword and blacked it out. Honda even chucked in a quick shifter and a slipper clutch as standard, just in case you were wondering if it was all show and no go. But what makes the CB1000R special isn't the numbers, it's how it rides. The throttle response is dialed in so clean, and the chassis feedback feels like it was tuned by a violinist. You point it, and it goes. No drama, no twitchiness, just precision. If you're the kind of rider who doesn't need to prove anything to anyone, this one's for you. It's the silent type, but it never backs down. The sixth spot goes to the Yamaha MT-09 SP. If the standard MT-09 is that wild buddy who gets you into questionable situations, the MT-09 SP is the version that figured out how to turn chaos into craft. It's still unpredictable, still rowdy, but now it's got Öhlins suspension and the swagger to back it all up. That 890cc CP3 triple hasn't changed. You're still looking at 117 horsepower, still getting that addictive surge of torque right off idle, and still hearing that snarling exhaust note that sounds like the bike's mad at the world. But it's what Yamaha added around it that elevates this thing. The rear shock is a fully adjustable Öhlins unit, and the front fork gets upgraded internals too. You can push this thing into corners harder than you should, and it stays composed like it's got something to prove. Honestly, the chassis setup is good enough that you'll start blaming yourself before you blame the bike. And then there's the quick shifter. Up and down, smooth as silk. Plus cruise control, ride modes, 6-axis IMU, the works. It's weird saying this about a naked middleweight, but this bike feels sophisticated. Like, it knows exactly how to party, but it won't end up in jail on a Tuesday. And its $12,500 price tag makes it a solid option for people who want something powerful and affordable. Coming in at number 5, we have the Kawasaki Z900 SE. You ever see a car that looks loud just sitting still? That's the vibe the Kawasaki Z900 SE gives off. It doesn't whisper, it roars. And if you've got $11,900, you're basically walking away with a leader-class bruiser that's had a serious finesse upgrade. This thing has a 948cc inline-4 under the tank, and it throws out 125 horsepower like it's nothing. But here's where Kawasaki got clever. They took all that aggression and balanced it with proper high-end hardware. The SE gets Brembo M 4.32 calipers, steel-braided brake lines, and a fully adjustable KYB fork with a remote reservoir shock. It's still a Z, mean, upright, and brutally fun, but now it's sharp where the regular Z900 was soft. I took one out a few months, and the feeling is hard to describe. It's not just fast, it's confident. You feel like you can dive into a corner and brake later than you should, just because you trust the setup. And when you twist the throttle, that intake growl becomes a full-blown snarl. It doesn't want to cruise, it wants to flex. Visually, the SE trim brings extra flair. Gold fork tubes, metallic paint, and just enough bling to make it pop without going full Fast and Furious. It feels premium, not delicate. Premium. Just one spot shy of our top 3 is the Suzuki GSX S1000 GT. Many people, including me, expected this bike to be soft, maybe even boring, but we were all wrong. The Suzuki GSX S1000 GT is like your favorite road trip car, except it sounds better, moves faster, and looks way cooler. And with a price tag of $14,300, it's arguably the most practical way to do 150 horsepower. The engine's the same legendary 999cc inline-4 from the GSX S1000, meaning you still get that fat torquey wave starting around 3,000 RPM and pulling all the way to the red line. The difference here is what surrounds it. You've got wind protection, integrated luggage mounts, a full-color TFT dash with phone connectivity, and cruise control, all the stuff that says tourer. but the chassis and riding position scream sport bike. You can spend hours in the saddle, then roll into a canyon and ride it like a maniac. It handles both rolls better than you'd expect. The power delivery is smooth but aggressive when you ask for it. The suspension is road-tuned, comfortable, yet taut enough to stay sharp when leaned over. It's not a track weapon, and it's not trying to be. What it is, though, is the bike you'll reach for again and again when you don't know where you're headed, but you know it's gonna be fast. The third spot on this list goes to the Kawasaki Z900R SE. Some bikes show off with spec sheets. Some scream through the revs, demanding your attention. But the Kawasaki Z900R SE, it doesn't scream. It echoes. Through time, through memory, through decades of heritage. The moment you lay eyes on it, something clicks. The teardrop tank, the ducktail rear, the gold-spoked wheels. It's like a movie flashback for anyone who grew up worshipping the old Z1. But the magic here isn't just in the looks. It's in how Kawasaki nailed the vibe without sacrificing modern brilliance. Underneath that vintage wrapping is a 948cc inline-4 engine putting out 111 horsepower. That number might not break the internet, but the way this thing delivers power is phenomenal. It pulls clean from down low, sings in the mid-range, and rewards every twist of the wrist with that silky, linear surge you only get from a proper four-cylinder. It's addictively smooth, like butter on warm toast, but with torque. Now the SE part, that's what seals the deal. You get Brembo M 4.32 calipers up front, upgraded suspension with an Öhlins S46 shock in the back, and an overall riding feel that's far more responsive than its classic silhouette would have you believe. This isn't some fashion piece with two wheels. This is a real bike, one you can hustle through a canyon or cruise through town, and it feels right in both worlds. The Z900R SE is a love letter to motorcycling's golden age. But it doesn't just write poetry. It throws punches, carves corners, and puts a grin on your face every single mile. Plus, its $14,200 price tag makes it super hard to beat in 2025. Coming in at number 2 is the Yamaha MT-10 SP. The MT-10 SP isn't just a better version of the regular MT-10, it's a surgical upgrade. Everything about it feels tighter, more dialed in, and somehow more dangerous. At $17,300, this bike doesn't just flirt with the edge, it marries it. So what's new? For starters, electronic Öhlins suspension that actively adjusts while you ride. It reads the road, your inputs, and how the bike moves, and then tweaks the damping in real time. It's like having a tiny race engineer hiding in each fork leg. You feel it most mid-corner, where the SP settles in like it's reading your mind. The engine? Same 998 cubic centimeter crossplane inline-4 as the standard MT-10, still giving you 166 horsepower and that iconic lumpy exhaust note. But the SP smooths out some of the aggression, just enough to make you trust it when you shouldn't. It's less bucking bronco, more trained assassin. There's also a whole suite of ride modes: cornering ABS, traction control, slide control, engine brake control. You name it. Yamaha threw the full R1 electronics book at it, and then added cruise control just to mess with you. This bike isn't for everyone. It's fast, expensive, and intimidating in the best possible way. But if you want something that feels like a bare-knuckle brawler with a master's degree in engineering, the MT-10 SP is it. At the top of this list is the Kawasaki ZH2. Now there are fast bikes, and there's the Kawasaki ZH2. And it exists in a category of its own, the "Are you sure you want to do this" category. For around $20,000, you're not just buying a motorcycle. You're signing a pact with something supercharged, loud, and totally unapologetic. The ZH2 features a 998 cubic centimeter inline-4 with a supercharger bolted to the side like it's trying to cheat the laws of physics. You get 197 horsepower, but that number doesn't even tell the full story. The torque delivery is instant. No buildup, no warning. It hits hard and keeps going like you're launching a missile every time you twist the throttle. But here's what makes the ZH2 more than just a numbers bike. It's ridiculously well-behaved when you're not trying to scare yourself. It'll cruise in 6th gear through town like a docile commuter. Then, one twist later, it's shoving you into another dimension. Kawasaki didn't skimp on the tech either. You've got electronic cruise control, launch control, quick shifter, cornering ABS, ride modes, and a full-color TFT dash that looks like it belongs in a spaceship. They even gave it a reinforced trellis frame to handle all that forced induction madness. Riding one feels like taming a dragon with a really good traction control system. You're not the boss. You're just lucky it lets you hang on. So there you have it. 10 Japanese naked bikes for under $20,000. Did any of these bikes make your shopping list? Let us know in the comments. If you found our helpful video, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our upcoming videos on bikes.